We take a lot of satisfaction in what we do.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine.
It's something that is greatly needed.
It's life-changing.
It is.
For most of our clients. I mean, they're finding that first job, it's the amount of joy, just being a small part of that is amazing. And to hear back from them about, how it has made such a difference in their life. So,
coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time.
Hello, Fremont. This is Cassia, and we are at the Centerville Library. You're listening to episode 64 of the Fremont Podcast.
Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
That's funny, yeah. That's a funny show. All right, so I'm recording now, and I am with two wonderful ladies. So give me your names. We'll start,
Narda Mamo, CEO, founder, Trends and Careers and Workable Careers.
Okay, and
Mary Hoffman, COO.
COO.
Trends and Workable.
I'm gonna have you move closer to the microphone.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Is that better?
That's good. That's
all
good.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sorry. What was that again? You're what?
The COO of Trends and Workable Career Trends.
Okay. So we've got two things going on here. We've got Trends and Workable. All
yes.
Right? So what is Trends and what is Workable?
So Trends is a professional career coaching firm. We have a tremendous team of professionals that offer professional level career counseling. Our superpower is supporting people with disabilities. We have a contract with the California Department of Rehabilitation, and we basically, people who are blind, deaf, and any other disabilities, or like we like to call different abilities.
Hold on. So it was, you said disabilities, and not disabilities, but
different abilities.
Different abilities.
Yes.
Okay.
So we have clients who haven't graduated from high school, and we have clients who have masters and PhDs, and we can cover the whole spectrum of whatever the clients are, professionally, education-wise, and ability-wise.
Okay.
So we love what we do. So Trends is the core employment search, career building component.
Okay.
And then Workable is a nonprofit and provides pre-employment and post-employment services. So what that means is, let's say there's an individual who doesn't know how to use public transportation or needs help with learning how to keep to a schedule and time management so that they can succeed when they actually look for a job. That will be a Workable function.
Okay.
Once they're ready to work, then they come to Trends. Once they get placed, then the Workable again takes over and provides support on the job site by providing a personalized trainer for that individual. So we support both the individual and the employer.
Okay.
Because the employer doesn't have to take extra time or have to it is more cost-efficient way of training a new employee.
Okay.
And we provide this individual, we call them job coaches, for up to 90 days of employment.
Wow.
And our success rate is 80%.
Wow.
So we're very, very
That's
excited.
Awesome.
And
and
Mary.
So real quick, what do you mean by success rate? Like what measures success rate when you say that?
So we call it retention, and basically that is when people get to the 90th day when they pass probation.
Okay.
So that is when the state Department of Rehabilitation considers them rehabilitated, and that's when we consider that a successful placement.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about this in a second, because this is awesome. I love it. I want to talk to the CEO over here real quick. So tell me a little bit about, what do you do? Like, how did you get involved in Workable?
So I think one of the things for us, and it'll be kind of apparent throughout this whole conversation, is it's a passion project. We love what we do, and both of us have daughters who have learning disabilities, and so that's what kind of fueled Narda with her, and then in my previous life, which has been in recruitment and staffing, one of the companies that I partnered with at the time when I ran a team on site at HP was Project Hired, and it was people with disabilities and finding opportunities to place them. So what I do is I keep Narda in line. I keep her in her lane. No, I speak Narda, and no. So I'm responsible.
So you're also not only the COO, but you're the chief corrections officer as well.
Correct.
Okay.
How funny! My daughter's in corrections.
There you go.
And so what I do in partnership with her is I manage our career counselors, and then just help kind of oversee policies, procedures, kind of our working. Day to day, so that we stay on track and can build for new business.
I'm going to interrupt here and also say the fabulous team that we have, the talented team that we have.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That is all her.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
she has recruited these amazing individuals.
That's great. Well, she's a recruiter, and she has a passion for this, so that's awesome. So we're going to get back to talking more about some of the details, because I have questions for you about the how this all works. But how did this start? Like, how did Trends / Workables start? What's the story behind that? And then how did you guys meet or come together in this?
So I used to work at Ohlone College. There was a grant-funded program through the Department of Rehabilitation called Workability 3. The funding structure changed, and Ohlone could no longer afford to sustain that program. So concerned with who would provide services to our clients, I decided to start Trends.
Okay.
And so I started Trends on my own and did so for almost 3 years.
When was that? When did you start Trends?
July 1st, 2017.
Okay, 2017.
Yes.
Okay. And what was the immediate need that you wanted to meet at 2017 when you started Trends? Like, what was that all about?
So I'm going to tell a story.
Good.
One of our my most significant success stories from working at Ohlone, we had a client who is deaf. She's a single mom. Her daughter is also deaf and was at a resident at the California School for the Deaf. And she was living in her car with her husband, who was physically abusive. Wow. And she needed housing. She needed a safe place to work. She needed a place where she could have her daughter on the weekends. And just by divine intervention or manifesting, I was able to find a live-in caregiver position for an elderly couple who was also deaf, needed somebody who knew sign language.
Oh, wow.
And they had a room for her, and they allowed for her daughter to come and stay with her during the weekend. And she was completely safe from the abusive partner.
Wow.
And so, and I was really, the struggle of what to do after Ohlone, because I had different options. I realized I didn't want to compromise. I wanted to do everything that I wanted to do. And that's how Trends was formed.
Wow.
And I think the hard part is the audience or the clients weren't going away. It's just the program went away.
Oh, okay.
So the need was still there in the community. And it's like you can't just go, okay, the program's done. All right, I'll just go do something else. Those clients were still there and still needing that level of support.
Wow.
So,
and there was a huge void in the communities as a whole, and this is not just in the Bay Area, but throughout the nation. For these services are usually not funded to a degree where professionals can sustain themselves and provide the services.
Okay.
And so, for example, when I was at Ohlone in 2015, I realized that we were really great at placing people in entry-level jobs.
Okay.
However, we were really not equipped. We didn't have the skill set for the professionals, whether mid-management and upper management, people who didn't go to school, or people who graduated with, masters and PhDs, and the services that they needed were professional level, and we were not able to provide that. So I got my career coaching certification so that we could provide adequate professional services to those individuals.
Okay.
And then with Trends, I could make it anything I wanted. Then, when Mary started working with me in 2019, we took it to the next level because I was doing a lot of great work by myself. However,
out of her home and one bedroom and
Office,
it's like, one office, and it's like, oh my gosh, no. And so, we realized the potential.
Yes.
But we also wanted to grow intelligently and not just, run amok. So, so then we got the office and
interestingly enough, so May 2020, the world is shut down because of COVID. And what do? We move into these offices. So everybody's moving home and we're moving out.
You're coming to the office.
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and it's been, then we realized that when in the world of disabilities, there are two main types of agencies. You have the Department of Rehabilitation, which provides employment services for adults. And then you have regional center. Regional centers are for people with developmental disabilities, generally speaking, low IQ or anyone in the autism spectrum, whether they're brilliant or not. Okay. So there's very specific funding, but regional center only works with nonprofits. And again, there was a huge void with our professional level services that was not being met, was not being filled. So we, and we also realized, these services should be available to the community beyond us, right? So, and the best way to do that is with a nonprofit.
Okay.
So not only are we working on filling the void right now, but working on making the services sustainable beyond us.
Wow. That's cool. That's very cool.
We'll be right back. You can hear the rest of this conversation in just a moment. Buying a home is a big decision. When I'm trying to make a big decision in my life, I turn to family. Family generally has my well-being in mind. They want the best for me. Whenever I visit Jennifer at Petrocelli Homes in Niles, she treats me like family. If you're in the process of buying or selling a home, turn to family. Turn to Petrocelli Homes. Dale Hardware is now ready to open their own pet center. Now you can get all of your pet supplies. You can get everything you need for your furry friends right at Dale Hardware. On top of that, Dale Hardware is the only hardware store in the country that has a destination center for Milwaukee tools. There are more Milwaukee tools under that roof than any other retail establishment in the country. Even with these big changes, the heart of Dale Hardware has not changed. So come on down to Dale Hardware and let a specialist help you find exactly what you're looking for with the type of care and attention that hasn't changed for over 65 years. And now, back to our conversation.
So how did you choose the name Trends, first of all? Like, where did that come from?
So I wanted something in working with employers for so long. I wanted something that would catch, and it's actually an acronym.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So, but I wanted something that would not brand our clients or our services.
Oh, okay.
Looking at attracting talent later on, they can still be professionally somewhat of a stigma about working with people with disabilities.
Okay.
And I wanted to kind of break that, And so I wanted something catchy, something that would stay with the times.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, that's cool.
So,
yeah. So, yes, it's a trend, I guess, right?
It is.
Yeah. Can you tell me the acronym, or is it something we don't want to?
So, you know what? Why don't we let Mary tell us a success story, and then I will come back with the.
Oh, okay, nice. Throw it over
Mary.
to me.
Yeah. So Mary, how did you two connect together?
We've known each other for 30 plus years.
Wow.
Our sons were best friends in second grade. And we've always, because we're both in Fremont, we've always seen each other and stayed in touch and, through social media and whatnot. And Narda, on a couple occasions, would you like to come work with me? This is what I'm doing. And the timing, just wasn't right, but I always was intrigued. And then it just got to that point where with my career, I'm like, you know what? I would like to go back to doing fulfilling work like that. And when I worked for Manpower, was on site at HP. I worked with Project Hired, and so I worked with people with disabilities. It's always been near and dear because of my daughter having a learning disability. So it was always kind of there. It just was, the time had to be right, and it was 4 years ago. So here we are.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you.
So you guys have been friends for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
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 Wow.
And
Do you guys? Yeah, I mean, was there any hesitation, or have you guys just like been close friends, or was this like kind of like a I don't know. Was it like, are you excited to work together?
I'm sorry.
Oh
So
my gosh.
Mary tells, when we interview new people or we hire new people, she tells them, so this is what Narda does. She takes you to the end, the deep end of the pool. She drops you. She's like, yeah, you can do
Just
it.
keep swimming. Just keep swimming. No, there was no hesitation. In fact, we were talking this morning about how, in previous jobs, you're like, oh my gosh, it's Monday, or oh, I got to go to work. And we're both like, I can't go to work. I can't wait.
That's
this is going to be so
awesome.
great.
Yeah.
We've traveled together. I mean, sky's the limit.
That's cool
for us. So
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it
So,
is.
did you come on with Trends, or did you come on during when Workable started, or how?
So I came on with Trends.
Okay.
And then we went to that meeting. We went to a meeting with the leadership at DOR in January 16th of 2020 to be exact.
Okay.
And they talked about kind of the forward partnership with DOR was going to be focused on nonprofits.
Okay.
And so we looked at each other and went, okay, I guess we have to start a nonprofit.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit. And, as it was rolling, nobody knew, is this going to be 1 month long, a year long, whatever. And I told Narda, I said, we need to take advantage now while everything's kind of in this suspended state and see if we can make traction with, getting the nonprofit going. And we did.
Wow.
That's
crazy.
And we were busy
Yeah.
during COVID. That's
Really?
the other thing.
We
Oh,
were
yeah.
very
We've been
busy.
consistently busy. We were concerned because people with disabilities, as Narda alluded to earlier, sometimes, employers are like, oh, is that going to be a lot of work? What are we going to have to do? But we had a lot of clients who were interested and wanted to work, and we found them employment. And then as things started opening up, we got concerned that our clients might be kind of pushed, down the line a little bit, and that hasn't happened either. So knock on wood, we've been, very fortunate that we've continued to have high placement rates and success with placing our clients.
That's awesome. So tell me how this works. So what kind of a person would be a perfect client for what you do?
So some of the most difficult
Everybody.
disabilities are the invisible disabilities, right?
Okay.
So somebody who suffers of anxiety, depression, somebody who's a diabetic, somebody who has a learning disability. There's a lot of stigma about dyslexia and the abilities of what people with dyslexia can do, ADHD. These are things that, parents, hear about their kids, and kids hear throughout their academic lives and school and everything. And I've had clients who qualified with a disability because they had carpal tunnel or plantar fasciitis. So anything that prevents you from doing work in your line of work is considered a disability.
Okay.
So with that, you go to the.
So these are people that already have a particular career or a
Not
path.
necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
We and another thing that distinguishes us is we, that we always say, feed a man, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish and feed him for a lifetime.
Yeah, right.
The reality with our clients is that they can be both. We have clients who can't handle email. We don't really feel comfortable with them talking with an employer on the phone. So for those clients, we do the entire job search process on our, in-house.
Okay.
And then we have the people who I call them are coachable, right? So people who we don't only want to get them to their first job, but give them tools and set them on a career path, right? Somewhere where they can grow.
Yeah.
We are very creative, and we've been very successful with assessing transferable skills. And not everyone is born with a disability, but sometimes a motorcycle accident, a stroke,
Right.
all kinds of things can happen, right? So a lot of people start losing their hearing when they're in their 40s or their sight because of diabetes. So transferable skills and adaptive technology, accommodations, for example. An example, we just recently got a request for a job coach for a registered nurse who is in the autism spectrum.
Wow.
And she's fabulous at her job.
Okay.
The challenge was communication with her peers and her supervisor. So generally, a job coach is somebody who goes in and helps somebody learn their job.
Okay.
And this was also tricky because of HIPAA. You don't want anybody's rights being violated.
Right, yeah.
So we were able to work with her supervisor and you know what? A manager who sees the possibilities and is open to the possibilities, that's her best friend in life.
Yeah.
So her manager was fabulous, and she was open to it. So we worked out a way in which our job coach would be in the break room or in the waiting room, and the client's team and manager, if communication needed to be taken, then they would go into a private office, and the coach would coach our client in how to communicate.
Wow.
So we're very creative,
That's
and
awesome.
success. When both the client and the manager wanted to work, we can actually provide that ingredient that will make it work.
Wow. So how do you guys find, like, how is it that you find these clients? Like,
So we get referrals directly from the Department of Rehabilitation.
Okay.
And that's probably the bulk of the clients that we get. But we also get private clients who have heard of us or have found us, on the web and whatnot. And that's why, as Narda said, we've got we kind of cover the spectrum, not only people with disabilities, but individuals who may need a refresh on their resume or need some, career coaching. But typically the referrals come from Department of Rehabilitation, and then they come into our office, into Frances, who is our amazing administrative guru.
Yep.
And then once she confirms we have all the documentation, then they come to me, and then I look at which one of our counselors who would be the best match
Okay.
to work with this person.
Okay.
So it's very specialized in that sense, where we really want to make sure that they get partnered with somebody who either has knowledge or background of the industry or area they want to work in, or has worked with somebody with those disabilities
Okay.
before and had strong success. So we make it a mission to really do that matching.
okay.
And now we also get referrals from regional center.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
terrific. And our philosophy really goes to, I was mentioned earlier that TRENDS is an acronym.
Yeah.
So it stands for Targeted Recruitment and Employment Needs Development Services.
Wow.
Because we wanted to just cover it all.
I like that. Yeah.
So
That's
Rolls
very
right
cool.
off the tongue.
Well, I don't know if it fit on a T-shirt very well. Or maybe it will.
No.
You got a great T-shirt right there, by the
Workable
way.
we have one of
Yeah.
those for you.
Oh, do you? That's
Yeah.
awesome. Capable, remarkable, employable, forgettable, workable. I love that. That is, or unforgettable, not
Yeah,
forgettable.
I was like, oh, forgettable.
Very cool. So I just want to make sure that I have this clear, because I'm not sure that I'm seeing the distinction. So what is the main distinction between trends and what is and workable? I understand one is for profit, one's not for profit. But what is the main distinction between the two and the type of clients or people you work with?
So type of clients, we truly like to give everyone a chance.
Okay.
So there would have to be something very particular. Let's say a client has a history of violence. We will not accept that to work with that client. Other than that, we pretty much give everybody a chance. And when it's only about the job search, getting the job and getting through the 90 days, that is trends.
Okay.
When it's about preparing them so they can be employable, and then once they're employable so that they can stay successful on the job, that's workable.
Okay.
It's kind of like a sandwich.
That's helpful. Yeah, no, I like that. I like that a lot. That's really cool.
Yeah, so...
Wow.
A delicious sandwich.
Yes, there you go. We take a lot of satisfaction in what we do.
Okay. Yeah, I can imagine.
It's something that is greatly needed.
It's life-changing
It is.
for
It is.
most of our clients. I mean,
Yes.
they're finding that first job, it's the amount of joy that they experience and then we experience as a result, and even individuals who are maybe doing a career change, or they just want to get to the next level in their career. Just being a small part of that
That's cool.
is amazing. And to hear back from them about, how it has made such a difference in their life. So,
and the word's getting around, within the Department of Rehabilitation, statewide. Like, for example, we have been referred clients from San Diego and Sacramento, and thanks to COVID, there were a few advantages to COVID, but opening the world to digital communication, Zoom mainly, and that. Yeah. So it really opened the delivery of services tremendously. So now, we have clients in San Diego, we have clients in Sacramento.
We've had New York reach out to us.
New York has reached out to us.
Incredible.
And where's Greg from? Tennessee.
Oh,
yeah. So we're not in those states yet. We know that Hawaii has a great need, and we're thinking we should open an office in Hawaii. So
I need an office for the Fremont podcast
in
Hawaii.
There you go.
Definitely.
We'll share office space.
Yes.
If there's not a Fremont Hawaii, then I think we need to start one. I think it just needs to. No,
so
maybe it'll start trending.
The other the Department of Rehabilitation has two purposes. So for people with disabilities, either provide them with employment services, which is us, or providing employment services, mainly paying for school.
Okay.
So when within the Department of Rehabilitation, system, a counselor from one city reaches out to everyone and says, have a client graduating with a JD or a PhD, or we need to provide employment services, but they need to measure up. Then we get the call, which is very fulfilling. And yet, we provide employment services again to individuals who could not graduate from high school. They don't have the diploma, they have the certificate. We place them as well.
I was going to say, before we started recording, you talked to me about seniors in high school, right? Seniors in high school that are homeless, or they had their specific concerns or needs that they have. Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what is that specific maybe group of people, the seniors in high school? Like, tell me how that caught your attention, or why that caught your attention, and then like what you do. What are the needs there, and then what do you do for those needs?
I have a very dear friend who runs this program at Holy Spirit Church. It's called Share Christmas. And basically, people or institutions send wish lists for Christmas gifts. And I remember one particular year, Cindy had, that's for my students. So I asked, and she said, honey, there are a lot of high school students in Fremont who are homeless. And it just, I'm a mom before anything, and it just crushed my heart. So when I started Trends, there was always going to be a nonprofit side of that, because I wanted to I don't mean to sound arrogant, but getting somebody a job is easy when you know what to do. Right?
Well, when you have a skill and you have an experience with doing that, I mean, when you do something for a long period of time, you kind of get into a rhythm, and you know how it works. You know how to make it happen.
Exactly. So, and that's our superpower. We know how to get people jobs. And so we haven't gotten as far as reaching that population yet. However, it is known that a lot of families of high school students, what's the expression, couch surf? They just kind of stay with these people and those people, and they're constantly moving. So some of them have a roof over their heads, but it's not, they're still homeless, right? So, and that's something that is still, so Workable, our nonprofit, is very young. We're still growing and learning a lot about our nonprofit world. And however, my dream is to get everybody working who wants to work. It's very simple.
That's great.
And we just had one of our career counselors reached out. There's this high school student who will only work in construction, and he works and he lives in the peninsula. And she's like, that's all he will consider. He's not. And I said, okay, great. But he's never worked before. He's still in high school. Why don't we talk to him about maybe working at Home Depot or Lowe's, where he will be learning about construction materials.
Yeah.
He will be meeting people and contractors who he might find somebody who will take him as an apprentice.
Yeah, right.
So, and that's what we do. We
Yeah.
want to build, career ladders,
Yeah,
right?
that's great.
And that's our approach to
That's
job
awesome.
search.
I love it. I think that is something, though, like what you just said about the finding a job like a job in Home Depot or Lowe's that kind of connects with something that might be part of the dream to get there. And I think sometimes, as a kid, for me, I can look ahead and see this is what I want to be. But without my knowledge and experience, and honestly, without somebody mentoring me along the way, I don't really know what it takes to get to that point. I don't know what the steps are to get to where I am, and
whether you'll like it.
And whether you like it, yeah, that's
the
right.
other piece of
Yeah.
it. You know what I mean? It's like you can think in your mind, oh, I've always wanted to do this job, and then if you get into that job and then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I hate this job.
Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah.
And I think back to like with the high school students, the great part of us expanding and getting into that population is almost like the some of the campuses would have like those career exploration
Yeah.
roles and things like that. And that's kind of how we look at some of these individuals, because they have no work experience, but they have a field that they're interested in or really passionate about, is how can we create some opportunities, for them to gain some skills and then determine, is this what I want to do? Is this my long term? Because college isn't for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah, right.
And people need to work. And so we love that. And that's why our logo has a bridge in it. We're that bridge, to employment and to career longevity.
I love that. That is,
And, when it comes to careers, for example, this past weekend, I was asked to be representing a panel for International Women's Day about women in business. And they had the cheer squad from Irvington High School and some students from Washington High School. And what I said to them is, like, for example, in Mary's experience, her career was an elevator. She knew what she wanted to do. She went to school for it, and she just took off. I grew up in a small town in Guatemala. I wanted to study to be a special ed teacher, but the only thing that was available was accounting. So I studied accounting because you got to take the opportunity that's available to you.
Right.
Then I came here, and my first job was as a nanny. My second job was in an accounting department as an accounts receivable clerk, which essentially was data entry. Moved up and became credit and collections manager for 9 years. Then I stayed home to raise my kids, and it wasn't until my mid-30s that I went to Ohlone and I discovered the American Sign Language and Deaf Studies program, and I studied and I graduated from that.
Wow, that's cool.
And though it truly is a little girl's dream fulfilled, because I am not a special ed teacher. However, I support people with disabilities.
Yeah.
So her career track was an elevator. Mine was more like a ladder.
Okay.
I had to one peg at a time.
One step at a time.
And
Yeah.
and that's what I shared with the youth that was present in that presentation. That opportunity was, just take the opportunities that present to you.
Yeah.
You will see people just rise to the top.
Yeah.
Like a straight arrow, and you might have to take some detours.
Right.
But just and I told them the experience. And as credit and collections manager, the business experience was so critical to my success in becoming a businesswoman.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look the same for everyone.
Right. Yeah. I think that it's important too that you, even you as somebody who started this, and you do have the experience that you were able to get through Ohlone College, but even looking back at your own path, how you got to where you are, and trying to figure out how to overcome the hurdles or the different obstacles that were in your path, I think that kind of sets a precedent for you to be able to say to somebody else, this is possible. And not only is it possible, some of these things that you might think are, deviations or even like a turnarounds from where you think you want to go or what you want to do and what you want to be, are actually part of getting you to where you need to be and what what you're going to excel at the most, which I think is awesome. So I know you said you help people, like you have people from San Diego that are reaching out to you, even New York. Is there anything specific about the city of Fremont that makes this more challenging for people other than there might be in other parts of the country?
Well, first of all, now it's home. But one of the reasons why it's home is, I was born and raised in Guatemala, good old Catholic Latina girl. Mm-hmm. And my ex-husband is a Muslim from Syria. Oh, so wow. Our children have these two very strong roots. And and they're American, right? And the really beautiful thing is growing up, whether it was through our neighborhood, personal relationships, school relationships, it was always okay for them to have three halves essentially, right? Guatemalan, Syrian, and American, right?
Wow.
They never had to suppress or do one or the other. My friends, it's truly an international community, and I've always felt acceptance and warmth in my community in Fremont.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Fremont.
That's great. Have you been in Fremont most of your life?
Yeah, California born and raised.
Okay.
Chico, Sacramento, Redding. Moved to Fremont in '85.
Okay.
When I got married.
Also, I'm sorry. You said you're from the Bay Area.
Sacramento, probably the most. That's where I went to college.
Yeah.
And,
well, we were talking about football earlier, and
yes,
so I was just thinking about the fact that '85 would be a great time to be in the San Francisco area for the 49ers.
Or Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Isn't that when they won the Super Bowl?
Yes,
I think,
but that whole era, the '80s, was a great era. So
yeah.
So anyway, I'm sorry, I derailed that.
So moved to the Bay Area in *85, and then did the condo, townhouse, finally got a house in '97. And so 2 kids, raised a family here and everything, and have always appreciated the the bedroom community type feel of Fremont.
Yeah.
It was big but small, and so I liked that because the different places that I lived tended to be smaller, and for my husband, same thing. So we were used to the smaller town kind of feel.
So this kind of gave you a mix of both, I guess. A little bit bigger of a city, but then also small town feel.
And close enough to San Francisco if you really wanted, an adventure in the big city and whatnot. So, so.
That's cool. And you guys met in the Cub Scouts, right?
Elementary school.
Elementary school.
Okay. Our kids were best friends in 2nd grade.
Okay, and then they went to Cub Scouts.
And then
together.
they went to Cub Scouts.
That's great.
And I would very specifically would like to something that goes to answer your question as to what makes Fremont special to what we do. And it's not only to Fremont, but as a statewide agency, I want to give a huge shout out to the California Department of Rehabilitation.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had the privilege of working with them through Ohlone College, and then once I decided that I wanted to do trends, they were so on board. If you look at it from 30,000 feet or whatever the expression is, business-wise, they need somebody to provide the services. However, it has never been that. They have always been very supportive. It's a true partnership, and their partnership has been critical to our growth and our success. So statewide, absolutely huge kudos for the California Department of Rehabilitation. Other states' Department of Rehabilitations are not created equal. So California, we're very, very fortunate as a whole.
That's cool. Wow.
And they're very open in the partnership to, if we see an opportunity with somebody to, like the example that you gave earlier, Narda, about the nurse, okay, how can we make this job coaching work so that at the end of the day, the client is successful on their job, and when we come to them and say, okay, how about this approach, or how about, it's very collaborative. And so that has been a great part of the relationship as well, that it's not just, okay, here's the services, find them a job, move on. We really invest in the clients and in the relationship with DOR. So I appreciate
awesome.
that we're able to have that collaboration with them and really come up with the best solution for the client.
That's great.
We had one of the clients that are very dear and dear to my heart. He had just graduated from Cal State East Bay with computer engineering bachelor's, and he wanted to be a coder. And, he's in the spectrum. And again, the elevator versus the career ladder thing, it was very difficult. He didn't have a lot of experience. He was very good at what he did. He just couldn't back it up with experience. So originally, sometimes we have to also tend to everyday life needs. So what we call it a survivor job. So he got a part-time job with the city of Hayward as a desktop support person. And through LinkedIn, I was able to reach out to several people, and I found this gentleman who later disclosed that he did not announce this, but that he is in the he's Asperger's syndrome.
Okay.
So
wow.
very, very high achieving.
Yeah.
And when I met him, if he didn't tell you, you would
wouldn't
think that he's a little eccentric, but he's brilliant. You could totally tell that he's brilliant, right?
Yeah.
So he actually ended up mentoring this young man.
Wow.
And today he's a full stack engineer in New York. So, I mean, it just lifts you up.
Yeah,
you
that's
love getting up
awesome.
in the morning,
That's
and
really
it's like,
cool.
what will today bring?
Yeah, that's awesome. So I do want to, I'll wrap it up here, but I'm curious. So there's the two of you, and then Francis in the other room. That's all I
Yes.
saw in this place. And you guys, like what you're doing, in my opinion, it must take. I mean, it seems like the three of you accomplishing everything that you're talking about is a lot of work. But you're talking about coaches
We're
that
pretty
you have.
fabulous, though.
You are-
So, just kidding.
Well, I know that. I just wanted to verify that your fabulousness is actually
Thank
true.
you.
Yeah. No. But you talked about coaches and
we have career
What makes up
counselors.
what makes up your team, or what are those counselors and all of that? Is it just
Yeah.
the three of you and then a slew of counselors, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so our career counseling team, as Narda had mentioned earlier, are fantastic. All different backgrounds. Some have recruiting and staffing backgrounds. Some have masters in counseling. But what kind of brings us all together is, again, this passion project. And for some people, it's a side gig where they have a full-time job and they do this because it's rewarding and, they want to be able to give back. For others, they're doing this full-time. But it's great because the variety of skills and abilities in the career counselors, that's what helps when I match clients.
Okay.
Because I've got, I've got just this plethora of talent and skills to choose from.
Yeah.
So.
Narda, you pulled up on your computer here. Your website. Yeah,
I was wondering. I thought you were looking out the window. I'm like, what's going on out there? Oh no, it's
so
not
you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and then 13, 14. So you've got 14 counselors listed on your website, and those are the people that you work with. I love this. This is great. I'm so excited to learn more about what you guys do, and I'm excited to see some of the stories maybe as they continue over the next few years.
Thank you.
We'd be happy to come back.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
I honestly believe that we're sort of like a best kept secret, hidden jewel kind of service.
Yeah,
So
I
thank
think
you
so.
for allowing us to
Yeah.
use your platform to get
Yeah.
the word out and let people know we're here.
Absolutely,
We're right
yeah.
here.
Fremont has a lot of unique things about it, and there's some really good things and there's some bad things. And so I hear the good things like what you're sharing is just amazing. And then I often get the complaints that everybody has about the city of Fremont. But I think that one of the things that has really been on my mind about this is that sometimes it's not the politicians or the visible leaders in the city that are actually like doing the things that are changing our city or making it better for what it is. And I think it's people like you that are doing the work that you do that actually make the city. And that's not to discount the work that our politicians do and our council people do, but I'm just saying that I think that what you guys are doing is you see a need. You are kind of, in some sense, hidden up in this building off of Paseo Padre. Nobody knows you're here. Like I was trying to find a sign for your business, so I knew where to go when I came to the parking lot, and there was no sign. So you guys are hidden, and all of that. But it seems to me like hearing those stories, what you're doing is just phenomenal, and you're the type of people, and you're the type of organization that Fremont needs, because you are genuinely making a difference and you have tangible metrics to be able to share with that. So I just love that. That's great. So keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. How can they get a hold of you? What is the information? Like if somebody is interested in either your services or being a mentor, like what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So, our phone number is
510-344-8828.
I think you're the first person I've interviewed that has actually given me a phone number. I've had email addresses or websites or Instagram accounts, but I don't think I've ever had a phone number. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
You're first.
And we have Facebook and Instagram
Yeah.
for both Workable and Trends. And our Trends website is trendscareers.com.
Okay.
Our Workable website is workablecareers.org.
Okay.
Or you can just stop by 39159 Paseo Padre, number 204.
Yep.
Or email Mary, Mary, at trendscareers.com.
Nice.
If you email me, it might take me a little longer to get back to you.
Yeah.
So please email
Yeah.
Mary.
Yes.
That's great. That's a different ability that you have, right? To not answer emails.
The hardest part of her job is keeping me in line.
Herding cats.
Yes, it is. Me, myself, and I can be quite
That's
unruly.
awesome. That's so funny. That's great. Well, I love hearing your guys' story. Thank you guys for sharing your passions with us. This is really cool.
Thank you so much
This is
for
really
coming
great.
over. Yeah.
This episode was hosted and produced by Ricky B. I'm Gary Williams. Andrew Cavett is the editor. Music is provided through soundstripe.com. You can find links to our social media and other content at thefremontpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you're so inclined, leave a kind review so that others can find the podcast. Join us next week on the Fremont Podcast.
This is a Muggins Media podcast.